Good morning, Liana.
Hi. Good
Hi.
morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Got our coffees.
Got our coffees.
So yeah, so we were talking about kind of getting back into the groove of things when we see this light at the end of the tunnel, and I keep hearing more and more people are getting vaccinated. So it's all, and it's spring has sprung, spring's here. So I'm excited, but a little bit nervous too.
I'm really nervous. I mean, on some level, that I told Joe, my husband, yesterday that said I'm going to have separation anxiety. I think when Noah goes back to school and things resume, we've been literally in front of each other nonstop for over a year now. March 12th was a year.
Yes.
And, we've been remote learning for the year. So I will be certainly happy when that's over. But at the same time, I think really nervous about just not having that like level of comfort around me.
Right. Yes, definitely thinking a lot about, yeah, just being home, and we're about to go visit my mom by car in another state. So yeah, that has brought up some anxieties about kind of getting into more crowded spaces and getting out there, taking transportation, public transportation, all that stuff. And even though my family's been driving me crazy and there's been, stressful times, there've been many wonderful times. So yeah, like what you're saying with sending kids back to school, it's much needed, but there's definitely going to be some separation anxiety, and yeah, it's
No.
going to be
And
weird.
all the dogs, everyone is talking about the dogs having anxiety when everyone goes back to work too.
Right. But we're going to have the anxiety too. Yes. I think
Yeah.
people are definitely going to have anxiety. Kids are going to, or teenagers are going to. So that's something that is such an interesting topic right now. And especially with women, I think, women have, been juggling work or had to leave work to be at home, and maybe take a little bit more of the brunt of homeschooling, maybe than partners. That might be a controversial comment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So
that's also been a topic that I was just talking to a friend yesterday who got a new job, and it's been tricky assimilating into the new company during COVID. But then she
yeah.
also is not looking forward to commuting in New York City after this is all over either. So that's why I
I
wanted to
haven't
talk to.
Well, I haven't been on a subway in a year, literally a year.
Yeah, I
When
haven't
and
either.
I think when we spoke last, I said to you, I haven't been on the subway in years because it
And I was
feels
like,
like,
what?
yeah. So
It
a lot of
feels like
interesting,
years. Yeah.
yeah, it does feel like years. And in some ways, what we have called like the new normal, even though this isn't normal, doesn't feel new anymore. This actually feels oddly normal in some ways. Like we've just adapted. And I think adapting back is going to be a lot harder, at least for, than we realize.
Yeah, I think we need to be
Um,
sensitive to that. Exactly. And so just a lot of
Absolutely.
what, yeah. And what we've been talking about is like reaching out to your people, your friends, like asking for help. I know we were talking a while ago about coping skills and what that would look like. And maybe it's not just eating a tub of ice cream in front of Netflix. There has to be more to coping skills. And I know you've talked to a lot of people about
Yeah,
that in your work.
totally. And the one thing that I'm only going to say one thing about that right now, which is ask yourself what you need. It's one coaching question that, when you're trying to help someone figure something out for themselves, you just ask that question. And it's also like when you're stuck and you don't know what else to ask, say, what do you need? What do you need? And it's such a powerful question. Most people don't know how to answer that. Like the pause is so big after that. I'm
Yeah.
not going to get emotional. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to, really ask yourself, like, what do you really need? We can say like, oh, I need more time, or I need, but when you like really drop into yourself and ask your need, I think sometimes people realize things are missing that they didn't realize. And that's a really
Yes.
overwhelming thing,
Right.
So I think what you
Do you think
said
it's
is really
overwhelming
important.
just to
Everyone
be
needs
in
to be
touch with the
sensitive.
emotions around that? Is that is it too too upsetting to really tap into that there's a need, that there are various needs there that they don't have? Or is it overwhelming because they don't know how to answer that question? Like they don't know how to get what they need. So is it identifying the needs, or is it you don't know how to get what you need that's more scary? That makes
I
sense.
think it's different for each person. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think, I think anytime you realize that something isn't quite where you thought it was, that there is that kind of like, oh my God, like you just, the bottom fell out of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially when we realize that we've been maybe running on this treadmill of life and, don't really necessarily examine our own needs as deeply as we would like to, or, we don't give ourselves the privilege or the honor of doing that for ourselves. We're so busy doing that. I think, we just, it's rare that you actually take the time to drop into yourself in a deep way. And so whenever you can, I mean, that whole self-care, it's important. And what you said about being sensitive to the transition, I think everyone thinks it's going to go back to normal and I'm going to feel great, but there may be a lot of mixed emotions, and hopefully employers and friends and parents and relatives all keep that in mind. I think our expectations of what we think other people will feel may impact them in ways that we don't really understand. So
yeah, there's so much in here. No, definitely. And just this past year, I feel like personally, just in my family, it's like just keeping things going and just keeping the anxiety of my family at bay. So look, job search with my husband, or the kids' anxieties at school, like just keeping those at bay and everything kind of more positive perspective and keeping the meals going and all of that. That's kept me very busy. So I think if it doesn't give me a lot of time, amongst other things, it doesn't give me a lot of time to think about, well, what do I need? And I've been thinking about that more lately too. And just to what you said before, like that is overwhelming. It's like, oh, okay, I need to make sure like I'm equipped to go back, to change gears and go back into the world and address these new things. But I have been putting aside, like, what do I need? Even though I do, I have been good at carving out kind of time for self-care and all these things that are important to me, but it's just a different story, when you have to just shift gears completely and go back into a much more busy world. And exposing ourselves to things that we've learned to be really nervous about, being interacting with other people, taking public transportation.
Absolutely.
Even going out to a restaurant, like some people have been doing that regularly. We really haven't. So I did go to a restaurant last week. It was wonderful. But like then you're thinking about, things. You used to go to a restaurant, relax, and it was nice to be served. And now it's like, just you have to think about everything from masks to hand sanitizer to how far you're sitting away from other people, anything. But so it's a lot, but it's also exciting because that's normal. That's great. New York City, we have 50%, capacity now where we could actually go to a restaurant and sit inside. Anyhow.
I haven't eaten inside at a restaurant for over a year now.
Right.
And I don't know that I'm like, I kind of don't know that I want to,
Right.
And I don't really mean that, but what I mean is we kind of get used to what we're doing, and change can be difficult, in different ways, depending on what it is. But anyway, I think we would love to hear from everybody what you guys are anxious about or nervous about or worried about, and keep the discussion going and support one another through this. And, Liana and I will be supporting ourselves and everybody else. So we'd love to hear from everyone, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think just through that sharing with others, it really helps people to just get a grip on what they need for themselves. So that's part of the process. And we very much believe in that, and that, in community. So not one-on-one is great, but just within small groups, and then within larger, the larger community of Monumental Me, because that's what we're building, just feeding off of each other and gaining strength from friends. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. We're gonna keep talking about this and let's go pull ourselves together and continue the conversation.
For the rest of the day.
I'm going to put my lipstick on. I'm putting my lipstick on, trying to practice for when I can get back out there without my mask. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.